Welcome back. Lifting spirits through music, along with 216 Creator Studios. We've got another great NAMM Show interview coming right up here with Mr. Tommy Beard. And he's got a history and a story to tell. But let's start. Just give us just a little background on who Tommy Beard is. The Tommy Beard you want people to know.
A songwriter. A songwriter that likes to observe people and situations and try to put it down on paper. You know, live through the eyes of other people and try to tell that story in 3 minutes, so to speak. I think that's something that, and it started, I guess, when I was like 6 years old or so. And my father said, if you don't like something, the way it sounds, we were talking about music, do your own. And that kind of resonated with me because I said, well, how do I do that? How do I express myself with music? And so it started there. And then we go years and years, I guess, after that. And I was at home and the doorbell rings. And I went to the door and I saw a gentleman standing there. And I said, can I help you? And he had a watchtower and a wake, you know. He was a Jehovah's Witness. And sometimes we wouldn't answer the door, or we may want to act like we're not home in a sense or whatever. But I answered the door, and I said, can I help you? He said, yes. Do you know what the state of the world is today? He went through this spiel, you know. And I said, well, listen, I really don't have time. I'm trying to work on a song. I was down there trying to pick out melodies and thoughts and stuff. And he says, okay. And so I went back to doing what I was doing. But 5 minutes later, I heard him still at the door. And I said, why are you here? He said, I like what I heard. So my first experience of acceptance of anything creative was from a Jehovah's Witness, somebody that I normally would not answer the door from. And that ended up being the first song that was recorded on an album that he was doing. His name was Arthur Adams. He was under Herb Alpert over at A&M Records. And it was a song called Never Get Enough of Your Love that I was working on at the time. And I brought it because I wanted you to, it's so old, man, some of this stuff. You know, but I wanted you to see, this was Arthur Adams back in the day. This was the album that he did. And
so let's show that up to the camera a little bit there. Yeah.
And the song, well, actually I wrote 2 songs on here. Never Get Enough of Your Love, the last song, and I Like It Funky. So I Like It Funky was actually written over the phone, ironically. It had lyrics and we were doing everything. And Quincy Jones was at A&M at the time as an artist. And the Carpenters and people, Billy Preston, people that I grew up admiring. And Stuart Levine, who was married to Jolie Jones, Quincy Jones' daughter, was one of the producers on here. So I'm saying all that to say that was such a happy moment of people that were in school. They used to laugh at me and say, man, nobody gonna listen to that. You can't do this. That's not gonna happen. And then the very people that they told me to stay away from, man, you're Methodist or you're Baptist, whatever, Episcopalian, don't answer the door to a Jehovah's Witness. And a Jehovah's Witness recorded my first song. See, you know, so that's you know, you never know where that light is going to shine. You know,
and music reaches across everything. It reaches across, if you're talking like that, it reaches across every religion. It reaches across everything that happens in the world, because it's the universal language that we all can experience. Whether you're a music maker or you just listen to music, you're going to reach the world that way. Now, with that story, those are great stories, and it's a wonderful thing with your music creativity. But I know there's a story behind that story that can happen to someone who's young and maybe not wise to the world yet. So when you were getting started like that, tell us some of the things that have happened that maybe you would change about the music industry if you had the chance.
Something that I would change. Okay. I'm more of a method actor, so if I change, I need to take off my jacket. So I get real comfortable because this is the part that doesn't sound as nice as the other part. So
Okay, do I need to take my jacket off too, or no?
you probably need to put a umbrella up because I'm gonna rain some stuff down.
All right, start the storm.
Okay. So being so eager and willing to do what it took to get a song copywritten and all that. Arthur was very nice. He told me, man, you know, I need an onion skin. I didn't know what an onion skin was. So I found out what an onion skin was. I needed a lead sheet. I got somebody to do a lead sheet, copyrights. And that was good. What I didn't understand that I had to share credit, even though I had written the song. So you got thick skin kind of quick. And you're saying what young people today need to be aware of? I would say read, listen to other people that have more experience, know history in a sense. You need to take the time and have patience, and it's not overnight. I mean, you hear the stories about 10-year overnight success, but I think you really need to step back, listen to your parents if they're trying to guide you and tell you, listen, don't try to build Rome in a day. You know your craft well enough, and if you really, really want to get business, seek the advice of someone legally. Get an experienced entertainment attorney, because a lot of times a person will put all kind of things in front of you. Nowadays, they do cars, girls, money, push anything across the table in place of someone to advise you properly. I think that's the biggest downfall.
So one of the big things, what I hear you saying is that it's not just about the creative part of it, which is important, and that's the beginning, but you have to develop a business sense about it to protect your creativity.
Yes, sir. I think 80% of it is business, or more. I mean, that small amount of time that you're in front of the people, they don't see all of the work that's behind it, and I think that's what we fall. Even to this day, I think from athletes to entertainers, I think we don't take the time to really, really study what it is to protect your money, and long term. They get that quick money and it's gone quickly. I think we should be taught that in school. They don't really teach you that in school. The finances and how to set up a bank account and how to have a trust. We should be taught those kind of things in school. And if you don't have it in your home, then it could benefit you in the long run. Years after that A&M thing, there was Motown, and I was on a set out in Culver City at Sony Lot, and they were doing a remake of King Kong, and you got to do the makeup thing. I had big afro at the time, but I didn't know they had wigs. I thought you put it in your own hair, so I'd take all the grease and put it in my hand and and the paint on the face, and we would be the tribesmen, Kong, Kong, and dancing. Well, I had a little makeup bag, and so I was sitting there because we used to hurry up and wait job, man. I was sketching out Motown because in my dream, even though I had a song recorded on A&M, my dream was always, oh man, if I could just write a song and get it on Motown, oh, that'd be great. So so I walked around with this bag that said Motown, and everybody, the whole company there was looking at me and said, that's not that's not Motown, But to me, I was listening to Earl Nightingale, Mike McCaffrey, Dennis Waitley, Robert Schuller, all the possibility thinkers, Les Brown, all these guys. And they were on cassette, I would listen to this stuff, get it from the library. And I said, well, if you really, Napoleon Hill, if you think and grow rich. So I had these visions that I could work in Motown. So back in the day, Yellow Pages. I found out when Motown was out here, when they had moved out here in '72. They had an office on Sunset, 6464 Sunset. So I would drive down to Sunset. You can't come in here, you got to stand over there, so you don't have an appointment. But I would go back up there. People would look. The guard, the people, the parking lot attendant, everybody knew me so well. They said, "Oh man, that guy, that guy, man." So finally, one day, I see a yellow Rolls Royce, top convertible, top was down, white top was dropped down, Donna Ross. She drives in, she turns, and I'm sitting across the street. I had a little Mustang Mach 1. That was a fast car. I could keep up with that Rolls Royce. So I said, I can't go in the building, but she's got to come out that building. I'm gonna follow Donna Ross. So I followed her all the way down Sunset. She doesn't live there anymore, so I can say this street. I turned on Maple, and she got out of the car, and I got out of the car, and I said, Miss Ross, and she turned, all this hair, she turned, and she looked at me, she said, yes. I said, I followed you from, she said, you did? I said, yeah, you need to know when people are following you. I said, I'm a songwriter, and I would like to go. She said, my brother works there. So I said, I found out, she said his name. I went back. I said that Donna Ross told me that her brother works here. I want to see her brother. So anyway, it kind of worked out. I found where the studio was. T-Boy Ross wrote with Leon Ware, who wrote the song for Marvin Gaye, I Want You. So I got a chance to go over to Sunrise and Sunset Studio, and things happened. One day I got a phone call from a friend of mine who was cutting a producer's hair and said, Tommy, you still had that book with all those lyrics and all that? I said, yeah, Gary, I have it. He said, guess what, man? I'm cutting a producer's hair from Motown. I said, okay. I gave him your phone number. I said, okay. I don't believe you, Gary. He said, no, I did. Well, I wasn't home, but he called. My stepfather at the time said, hey, man, you got a note in the kitchen in there. Somebody called you named Don. I didn't know Don, so I didn't call him back. So about an hour later, my stepfather says, hey, man, that guy, Don from Motown, called. I said, you didn't say it was Don from Motown. You said it was Don. He said, well, if you read the note, it would have told, So I went in there. I called him back. He said, you need to be here tomorrow at 9 o'clock. This is the address. Well, I thought they were still at 6464, but I guess they had moved over from 6464 to 6255 or 6251, or east of Vine. So I showed up. I made it at 9 o'clock. So 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3 o'clock I sat there. And the secretary said, thank you for coming. There are no more appointments for today. You need to come back tomorrow. So out of the 20 people that were there, it got real thin. And the next day I showed up, it was only like 6 or 5 of us. And they did the same thing, 9, 10, 11. By 11:30, almost 12 o'clock, everybody left but one girl and myself. So I went over and I said, what's your name? She said, Karen. I said, are you here for, she said, I'm here for, the audition. I said, with who? And she said, oh, it's with Don Daniels. I said, oh, I'm here for Don Daniels. So immediately that was my competition. So I said, I don't know if this is going to be the right thing for me. I don't know if I'll stay, hoping. I said, because I've heard that people come here and they stay a whole week and he never called anybody. So that was kind of working. And so, but she wasn't buying it. So after about 1 o'clock again, the secretary says, he's going to see you today. So I'm thinking he meant he's going to see me as well. They called Karen back. And then he said, oh, no, Tommy, you can go too. So she went in, she did hers, I did mine. And he kind of was, nonchalant about it. He said, well, is that all you got? Is everything you have is what I heard? I said, yeah. I said, oh, I have this one idea. It's not finished, I said, but I just came up with it. I really like it. He said, well, I said, but I'm not a piano player. I said, but I can show you. He said, okay. So I did a little thing, and he said, you know what, do that again. And I did it again. He said, wait 1 minute. And he reached over, got the phone, and pressed the button. He said, is Springer here? And they said, yeah. He said, send Springer back. So this tall young guy comes in, stands over my shoulder. He said, play that for Springer. And I played the little thing. And Springer said, okay, get up, man, move. So I got up, and he sat down. And he said, like that? I said, yeah, but it's a gliss on the G minor 7. And he said, what's that? I said, oh, I read it in a book, but this is the way you play the G minor. I said, this is the inversion. So I was self-taught. I didn't really know. I just, So I said, I don't really read, but I understand the chords. And I said, this is the progression of what I did. So Don said, so you understand the progressions and what you're doing? Or he said, I thought you just came up with it. I said, I came up with it, but this is what it is. He didn't do that. He went down to the 8. So anyway, Springer ironed it out. And Don said, so you can do a little bit more of that kind of stuff? I said, oh man, I got a ton of stuff like that. He said, you got your license with you? I said, yes, sir. Social Security, that's when we used to carry our Social Security card. Right. Old days. And he said, well, welcome to Motown. And that gave me chills, So he said, go up 1 floor to the 17th floor, give them all of your information, fill out, contact your mother, all that kind of stuff. And then that's when the bad stuff started to happen. That's the reason I took off my coat. Look.
Well, that's what you get for stalking Diana Ross,
The omen? The omen of Ross, okay. So I started writing these songs, being so happy. I got a 1-bedroom apartment. I'm everything. I'm dating this girl, ended up being my wife, and the producer tells me this. He said, you know what? He said, all this stuff that you are doing, that girl is affecting the way you write. I said, but she's the reason I wrote Never Get Enough of Your Love, and she's the reason all these. He said, I don't care about all that. He said, I want you to turn in 4 songs a month that are accepted. That's your quota, and work in the group with John or Karen or Booker or whoever. And so songs didn't really make the label. They kept shelving them, and I didn't understand what the shelving was. I said, I was a tax write-off, in my opinion. So I said, what happened to all of the music? And they said, we want you to write from titles, and they would give you a title. So if they gave you the title, they're entitled to credit. And I'm thinking, he comes up with a 1-word title, he gets credit of the song? They said, well, he gave you the title. I said, but it was just a title. He said, it doesn't matter. But he would get 50%, or they would get 30%. And I'm thinking, but they didn't write anything. He said, well, they gave you the title. So I remember a title of a song called Innocent, which happened to be on this other album. And this really got me. It didn't go on Motown, but it came out on Capitol. So I said, man, this song, this is Donna, way back in the day, she got on Capitol Records. So I thought that, I didn't know that Capitol and Motown worked together, and if we don't sign her here, we get her over there, and whatever they sent us over here as a bill, we have to pay. So long story short, the song gets on the album, and it goes D. Daniels, J. Springer, T. Beard. But T. Beard was the guy that wrote it doesn't matter, D. Daniels, J. Springer, T. Beard. So that really got me. Then, For the Sake of Love, which is the title, I wrote that. So that got me. Then the same guy ruins her career. In a sense, because she had an $80,000 budget for 3 albums, which would be, $240,000. but they went to 280, almost 300,000 on this first album. Now, I don't know if that's a story that I wasn't supposed to say everybody's name, but it's the truth. And
But it changes the trajectory of how that was supposed to happen. Totally.
well, it actually hurt her career. So all these years later, I'm looking at, this came out in, I don't know, 80 or something like that. So a year ago, Donna's still around. She's still alive. Most of the people have passed away. I said, if Don is not around anymore, Springer, he passed, Donna is still alive, and she was suffering, with lupus. And she would say, Tommy, it's just two of us left, I said, well, she said, and I'm in so much pain with lupus and rheumatoid arthritis, I don't want to be here anymore. And that hurt me. So I wrote a song for her last year, year before, at least I released it last year, and it's called Without You. And I just, on social media, I just put it out there to uplift her, and she did the vocal, did it, all the things. So I'm still writing. But that was some of the stories. I still got a lot. I kind of run off a little bit.
No, it's fascinating, and I think it's a story that needs to be told, because this is one person's story, but this went on with a lot of people from what you told us before in that time.
But the upside of it, I had a friend, and we started writing together for 40, 50 years. We wrote. We just, the passion of writing. I do it for nothing. I do it for peanuts. I just love to get up and write. So I go over to City College, and I saw a girl in a class, and we were in class, and she, I saw her. She could really sing. I stepped back. My friend worked at the telephone company. He comes over to the house with the same girl that I saw. I didn't meet the girl that I heard singing in the class. I just observed her. He brings the same girl to the house. Said, Tommy, this girl can really sing. I said, I've heard her. He said, you haven't heard her. I said, no, City College. And her name was Vivian Rojas. And we ended up doing just an EP. We just did we did a single on this. So after this, you think everything is going great. I'm thinking it's fantastic. She loves it. And then my friend, he says, man, I don't want to be a part of it. I said, no, your name's on it. You wrote the song with me. We're going to finish it. So we finished it. It got to the point where I said, I pressed up 2,500 of these things. I come home with 3 or 4 of them. We move from one house to another house. I leave all 2,500 of them in the garage. Now I go on the internet and they're selling for $40 in Japan, and I'm thinking, I'm thinking, wow, But those are the things. But I'll do it all again. I'll do it all again. Even the bad has a thing for a songwriter, because you can write through the bad, like Willie Nelson said, in a sense, And I think that's what tells that story in 3 minutes, even though I took an hour to say 3 minutes.
But you know what? You also just told a bigger story, because you just told us how musicians, they're going to work from passion. And it may not come out well business-wise, but they're going to continue to do it because it's your passion. Music is in your blood, and you can't stop it. Now, obviously, it would be better if you put the business side with it as you go along. And it was tough back then, though, too, because the information available to people not in the know was just not out there. We didn't have the internet to look things up and to check things over. Nowadays, musicians need to not be lazy business-wise. They need to follow up, and they need to do exactly the message you're passing out is to include the business part first before you give away your creative ideas.
Yes, and I like the idea of being able to converse with one another, because right now so many heads are down and they're doing this. People will say, fly me over the track, send me the stems, email me this, do whatever, but nobody wants to do this anymore. And I think you're supposed to embrace technology. AI is coming, it's here. You don't need to turn it off. You can't outrun it. It's in your face. You have to embrace it, but you don't let it embrace you. You must still be able to interact with people, and that's what I think is really missing. I think we don't want to sit in the same room. There are people that are 15 minutes away from me, and yet they would say, send me the track or whatever. They will not sit in a room and hash things out. And a text is so cold sometimes. It's non-emotional. You can break up with somebody over text, or you can be catfished over something because you never really interacted with anybody. And I think that's the problem. I'm so honored to be, because I'm a guy that's never in front of the camera, so to speak. I'm always in the background. And so to be able to say, I think we need to converse with one another that's what all of this is really about. I think we've gotten away from that. Well, we don't really talk to one another anymore. I was at a table at the restaurant, and I was looking over. It was 12 people at a table. I didn't know any of them. And my wife said, Tommy, please stop and concern yourself with yourself. Do not get up and go over there and embarrass me. I said, I got to go over there. There's 12 people, and 5 of them are on their phone. Well, I'm going. She said, Tommy, you don't know those people? Please leave them alone. I said, I'll be right back. And I went over to the table. I said, excuse me, you guys celebrating? And it was a husband, a wife, and the children. And I think it was 2 other people, cousins or whatever. And they said, yes, our anniversary. I said, well, some damn anniversary. I said, the 5 people are not even here. She said, what do you mean they're not here? I said, they're not here. They're on their phone with other people or doing whatever they're doing. So I said, what would be really good for you guys is to put your phones down and celebrate your mother and father's anniversary. I thought they would say, who the hell? But they didn't. They put their phones down. When we got up to leave, I didn't get a check. The family paid for our check. With my wife, I said, every time we come to the restaurant, we need to find out who's celebrating, who's having a birthday, because this stuff works. But that's my point. People don't, they're not there. They're somewhere else.
But you just proved a point. You can control your own little corner of the world. You can't control the whole world, but what you just did, you controlled what was within your means. And the most important thing I'm learning from this is that I want to go out to dinner with you and your wife. Right. And then, because I know you'll get somebody else to pick up the check.
Yes, well, I don't know about that.
We want to thank you guys for watching again. And we want to thank Tommy for being with us and giving us insight to behind the scenes in the music industry and in the human industry as well. And we'll be back. Lifting spirits through music, 2-1 Creator Studios and Piano Trends Music. We'll see you next time.